In Season 3, Myung-Gi took a terrifying turn compared to Season 2. We finally saw his true side, the bottomless greed, the cold disregard for every other player, and his willingness to do anything to win, even sacrificing his own newborn baby. Let's take a look at every moment that proved Myung-Gi was a complete psycho. We'll start with the moment Myung-Gi got his first kill in the 4th game. He and Namgyu confront player 235, who begs for his life, saying he has a wife and son. It's a heartbreaking plea, but Myung-Gi shows absolutely no remorse. He coldly plans to kill him alongside Namgyu. At first, when Myung-Gi stops Namgyu from striking the player, I actually thought it was a moment of compassion. I assumed he was having second thoughts, maybe even guilt. But no, the real reason he stopped Namgyu was because he wanted them to stab the man at the exact same time. It was a twisted sense of coordination, almost like a game within the game. There was no hesitation, no mercy, just a disturbing eagerness to kill. What makes it worse is the irony of Myung-Gi's own situation. He has an ex-girlfriend and a daughter on the way, and yet that means nothing to him at that moment. He kills a man who was begging for his life, a man who was a father. What's even more disturbing is that Myung-Gi had teamed up with Namgyu, the same person he nearly killed in the bathroom during a previous conflict. That alliance alone felt unstable and shocking. To see Myung-Gi, who once seemed emotional and protective, now coldly taking lives and partnering with someone so dangerous, was a major disappointment. It showed how far gone he'd become. But Myung-Gi wasn't done. In that same episode, the second person Myung-Gi kills is a clear sign of how far he's fallen and how dangerously cold he's become. He and Namgyu chase down player 411 through the maze until the player ends up cornered, trapped in a dead end with no way out. When he turns around in fear, there they are, Myung-Gi and Namgyu, standing calmly and slowly approaching like predators closing in on prey. What's especially chilling is Myung-Gi's face at that moment. There's no fear, no anger, no hesitation, just a cold, focused look, like this was something routine. And then, without a word, Myung-Gi stabs player 411, not once, not twice, but 3 brutal times. He does it swiftly with no hesitation and no mercy. It was mechanical, emotionless, like he didn't even see 411 as a person anymore. What makes this moment even more impactful is how it ties back to something Junhee said before the game began. She asked Myung-Gi, "Is it that easy for you to kill someone?" And now we have our answer, yes. For Myung-Gi, it's disturbingly easy. He doesn't flinch, he doesn't question it, he just does it. At this point, it's clear he's become something completely unrecognizable. The man who once showed care for Junhee and their unborn child is gone. What's left is someone who kills without remorse, almost like it's second nature. After getting 2 kills, Myung-Gi had already passed the game. That's what makes what he did next so disturbing. He didn't have to kill anyone else. The rules were clear. Once you completed the objective, which is killing just one person, you just had to wait it out. No more danger, no more violence. He could have stayed hidden, avoided more bloodshed, and still moved on. But that wasn't enough for him. He wanted more kills, more money, more chaos. Like Namgyu told him earlier, every additional player killed meant more prize, money added to the total, and Myung-Gi took that idea and ran with it, letting greed override any trace of morality or restraint. He and Namgyu hid in a room, waiting for other players to enter so they could ambush them. They weren't playing to survive anymore, they were hunting. When the shaman lady entered the room and caught sight of them, she immediately ran out in fear. Her followers, however, hesitated and didn't react quickly enough. That was all it took. Myung-Gi and Namgyu burst out of hiding and charged. Myung-Gi went straight for one of the followers and stabbed him multiple times. And again, not once, not twice, multiple fast, ruthless strikes, without hesitation, without mercy. This wasn't self-defense. This wasn't desperation. It was cold violence. You could see it in his face, no fear, no regret, just blank determination. And that brings us to his worst moment yet. His final kill in the 4th game is, without a doubt, the most heartbreaking and the most unforgivable. As mentioned earlier, Myung-Gi had already passed the game after getting 2 kills. That was all he needed, yet he didn't stop there. He went on to kill not 1, not 2, but 4 people in total, each death more senseless than the last. And his final victim? None other than Hyunju. Hyunju's death struck a chord with almost every fan. It was brutal, unnecessary, and deeply emotional. He stabbed her twice in the back with zero hesitation, killing her. What makes it worse is that there was absolutely no reason for him to do it. He had already cleared the objective. He could have stayed put and survived the rest of the game without lifting a finger. But that wasn't enough for Myung-Gi. He wanted more money and more blood. Some people tried to defend him, saying he didn't know it was Hyun-ju, that if he had known, maybe he wouldn't have done it. But honestly, even if that were true, it wouldn't excuse him. Whether it was Hyun-ju or another player, Myung-Gi showed again and again that he didn't care who he killed. He showed no remorse, no hesitation, no emotional conflict. He simply saw people as obstacles in the way of more prize money. And even the "he didn't know it was Hyun-ju" excuse doesn't fully hold up. Every player wore a tag on the back of their vest with their number on it. He could have seen it. He could have realized, but he didn't stop. And beyond that, he and Hyun-ju had already had conflict before. In the Mingle game, they clashed when he coldly shut the door on Young-mi, letting her die. So it's not like he had any affection or moral hesitation tied to her. In the end, this final kill truly exposed who Myung-Gi had become. A person who didn't just kill to survive, but someone who kept killing for gain, even when it was no longer necessary. His descent into that mindset made him one of the most disliked characters in the series, and honestly, after killing Hyun-ju, I also hated him a lot. His cruelty wasn't limited to the games. It showed up in the voting room too. In episode 4, during the finalist dinner, there was a crucial voting moment. When it was MG Coin's turn to vote, he faced a tough choice. He was originally an ex-voter, meaning he wanted to stop the games. But then he saw the enormous piggy bank filled with money, stacked high and shining under the lights. That sight changed everything. Despite all the horrors he had witnessed, including the death of his ex-girlfriend Junhee, he decided to press O, meaning he wanted to continue the games and play the final round for that massive prize. This choice was deeply disappointing. If he really cared about the baby that Junhee had just given birth to, his own daughter, why would he risk everything by staying in the games? He could have stopped then, taken the money he had already won, and used it to take care of the child. But no, he chose greed instead. He wanted more money, no matter what the cost. It made you question his true feelings. Did he care about the baby at all? Or was it just an excuse to justify his selfishness? At that point, many viewers felt a profound sense of betrayal. His decision showed how far he had drifted from humanity and empathy. Instead of being a protective father, he seemed blinded by greed, choosing the game's violent, deadly path over responsibility and love. Honestly, after this moment, I couldn't wish him anything but misfortune. It was a turning point in how the audience saw him, and it was heartbreaking, but nothing compares to what he did in the final game. This was the game where he became truly unforgivable. He made some of the most selfish and heartless decisions, starting with how he planned the death of Min-soo. He was actually the smartest in analyzing the situation and thinking carefully about how to eliminate him. Instead of using that intelligence to do something good, like maybe betraying one of the O voters to protect the X voters, or even sacrificing himself to give others a chance, he chose the worst path. He tightly grabbed the large metal pole, kept a safe distance to avoid any risk to himself, and with a cold, focused expression walked up to Min-soo. As Min-soo stood there, still hallucinating and defenseless, he didn't hesitate. He used the pole to push Min-soo into the void. No guilt, no second thoughts. At that point, it became clear he didn't care about innocence, fairness, or even his daughter. He only wanted to survive and win, even with bad people. Just when it felt like Myung-Gi couldn't fall any deeper, he crossed a line that left everyone speechless, this time involving his own daughter. He not only tried to kill her, but when the Oz suggested killing the baby to make the final round easier, he didn't even try to defend her. He stayed silent, showing no signs of care or conflict. It was heartbreaking to watch Gi-hun, who wasn't even the father, step up and protect the baby more than Myung-Gi ever did. When the O's, led by Myung-Gi, planned to kill Gi-hun just so they would win, he didn't hesitate. He was the one who organized the entire plan. Gi-hun would have the baby taken out of his hands, and Myung-Gi would use the same metal pole to push him into the void. No sadness, no second thoughts. The plan ultimately failed, but it was more than enough to show what kind of person Myung-Gi truly became. Selfish, cruel, and completely disconnected from his own child. And in one last act of betrayal, Myung-Gi revealed his true self. He just decided to betray Gi-hun. During their final fight, another unforgivable moment happened. He held up his own daughter above the void, threatening to drop her if Gi-hun came any closer. That alone speaks volumes about who he had become. This is a man who killed players without reason, including important characters like Hyun-Ju in the 4th game. He didn't care about Jun-Hee after she died, he barely looked sad. He just kept going with the games like nothing happened. His only motivation seemed to be money and luxury, even if it meant walking over the blood of everyone he once claimed to care about, including Jun-Hee and their newborn daughter. In the final game, he proved it fully. He didn't care about the baby at all, and would have killed her too if it meant getting a bit closer to the prize. It was honestly a relief when he eventually died in the fight with Gi-hun, and I think many fans felt the same way. What did you think of Myung-Gi this season?